Well, we're just going to pray really fast. God, I ask that you would help me not to say and
Bless him, Lord.
I ask that you would help me to not be nervous and help me to get your word across the way you want me to do it. Yeah, right. How many here have ever feared something?
I'm putting my hand up.
I was thinking of an illustration for this sermon, and all that could come to mind was my little brother, how we used to scare him to the point of tears. We had a family room in my basement, and there was no windows because it was a basement. Anyway, my older brother and I would always be downstairs, and we'd be playing Legos or something like that. And my little brother would kind of like stealthily walk downstairs and act like we didn't see him. And then me and my older brother would just jump up, hit the lights, and run up the stairs. And he'd be left down there. He's probably, how old is he?
5.
Probably that age. I'm 6 years older than my youngest brother, so we were a little older. So we'd run upstairs, and my little brother would be screaming downstairs.
Aww.
So, you know how when you're walking up the stairs and you kind of feel like someone's chasing you, so you run a little fast? Yeah. Whoa. He would come flying up the stairs, and I'm hiding on the other side of the wall. And right when he got to the top of the stairs, I would just jump out, rah! Like that. And he would just scream. Tears would flow down his eyes. My title of my sermon today is Fear Not. Jesus had just got done feeding 5,000 people, and this is where my text picks up. I'm going to be reading from Matthew 14:22-33. When you turn there, give me an amen or something. Amen. Oh, you're not there. Immediately, Jesus... Oh, am I allowed to talk now? Alright. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat was already a considerable distance away from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And they climbed into the boat, and the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." I have 3 points today. My first point is, ghosts are our friends. The disciples were faced with a very scary moment. They saw a pale figure moving across this lake in the middle of the night. And they did what any of us would have done. They got really scared. But what were they scared of with Christ interceding? You know, he was right there with them. Last semester I had a ghost of my own. I broke my hand being stupid, and I had to pay the consequences for that. I went to the doctor, and I waited in the doctor's office for a good 10 minutes before the doctor even came in. So I'm already worried. The doctor came in, took the splint off my hand, put it on a pillow, because he put a pillow on my lap, and then walked out there. I'm thinking, all right. So a nurse comes in right after that, and she takes a syringe out of the cabinet and starts like filling it up with Novocaine. And then she just sets it on the counter and walks out. Now I'm thinking, all right, it's just a shot, I can handle this, no big deal. 20 minutes pass. I'm sitting there, shaking when the doctor walks in. Like I'm physically shaking. I look like I'm having a seizure. The doctor finally sticks me with the needle, starts injecting. There's a bubble, no lie, like this big on my hand. I look at the doctor and I say, "That does not feel good at all." He turns the needle in my hand. He like clips this bone right here, and I'm like, all right. So I'm like pinching my leg to try and like make it hurt somewhere else. And so I'm like seriously about to pass out. And he goes, "You look kind of sick. You need to lay down." I'm like, "No, let's just get this over with." So he takes me to the X-ray room, and there's like a real-time X-ray machine in there. Like you can watch what he's doing with my bone while like he's trying to set it and stuff. So he puts it under this machine and just yanks on my hand. And the knuckle came back up in my pinky. So I was like, all right, that was probably the worst part of it. And then he starts like twisting and pushing and all this stuff with my knuckle. trying to get the bone to stick back together, and it won't stick. So I'm thinking, oh, great. So he tells me that you're probably going to end up having to have surgery. And I'm thinking, I don't really want to have surgery. He says, well, you're probably going to have to. All right. So he finally puts this brace on, and after about 5 or 6 times of trying to get my bone placed the way he wants it, he gets it to stick. And he tightens up the brace, and he says, it's probably going to fall out, and if it does, you're going to have surgery. Cool. Let's do this. So, honestly, like, looking back, I'm thinking, okay, big deal. But at the time, I'm scared to death. My second point today is, uh-oh, I'm scared. After realizing that Jesus was not a ghost, Peter asked him to call him out to walk on the water. So Jesus does. Peter was already doing something and then he got scared. Like, he was already doing something, and then he was like, oh, look, a wave, and then started sinking. He's already standing on water. Like, I don't understand how you get scared about that. Jesus is telling us to just jump. He's saying, I have your back, stop worrying about it. I can remember when I was a kid, we lived in a 1-story duplex, and the shed came down in the back. It was probably like 6'5", somewhere around in there. And so there was a fence that butted up against the house, and we could climb the fence and jump onto the roof. And I remember as a kid, we always used to jump off the back because it was short. One day we decided to take parachutes on top of the roof and jump off from the front. But these weren't ordinary parachutes. And if I can get Susie to come up here and demonstrate what kind of parachutes these were. She's almost small enough.
I mean,
Maybe. Yeah. You see what kind of airflow we get back here, right? Alright, you can go sit down. Alright, so we took plastic grocery bags to the top of the roof. And my older brother tells me, he says, you know, we should jump from the front of the roof. We'll get more air that way. I said, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. And he says, but you're lighter, so you can go first, right? I'm thinking, Nick, I really don't like heights. I'm scared to jump off the roof. He says, but if anyone's going to float away, it's going to be you. Oh, all right. So I look over the side of the roof, and I'm thinking, I don't want to do this, but I just scream, Geronimo, and jump off. Smack, right on the ground. To be honest, like, I never fell so fast in my life. My brother was sure that it would work because he had an imagination that led him logically to be an idiot. I, on the other hand, just didn't want to jump. It had nothing to do with the fact that the parachute could have took me away. It had nothing to do with that. I was just scared. My brother could have jumped off and floated away, and I still wouldn't have wanted to jump. You can't doubt God when he's saying, just jump. Just like in scriptures, when Peter started sinking, Jesus grabbed him. He'll do that for us too. My third and final point today is remember, and then just jump. When we look at Peter's life, we realize how fast he forgets what happened on the water. He was the one that denied Christ 3 times, in case you never put that together. Fun fact of the day. Seems like Peter forgets so quickly about the lesson he learned in the midst of that storm that night. Looking back to my hand, I can see where I doubted that would heal me. Like, I know he can heal me, but why would he? I know he's all-powerful, and I know he made me from dust, but why? Like, I haven't done anything to deserve this. But God did keep my bone together. I didn't have to have surgery or anything. And I loved it that God made a doctor, he went to school for 8 years, look like an elementary school student. But even after this healing, like, I haven't been giving God my all. I haven't been doing my devotions like I should, or praying like I should, or any of that. And in conclusion, I just want to challenge all of you in the areas of your life where maybe you haven't been giving God 100%. Maybe turn your friends down when you go to the movies, or when they ask you to go to the movies and you haven't done your devotions. Make a habit of praying at least 15 minutes a day. It's the least you can do after Christ spent 3 days in a tomb for you. And work towards those things that you know are good and don't give up on.